Abraham Sculley is a professional mental health speaker, educator, author, and storyteller on a mission to eradicate the stigma of mental health. He has been seen on an MTV documentary film, and he has done a lot of great things to further conversations about mental health, illness, and stigma through sharing his personal battle of depression. He's talked all around the country on universities and college campuses, and he is a Pensacola native, so I'll let Abraham take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Abigail. Good morning, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well so far. I hope the Leadership Summit is going well and you're learning a whole lot. I'm excited to be here. Again, my name is Abraham Sculley, and I am just passionate about mental health. I know this summit it has an emphasis on leadership, and I believe that mental health is essential when it comes to being a leader. So, a couple things that you can expect from our time together is number one, this is going to be super engaging. So I already see we have some people in the chat saying hello, hi. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for being here. And I am going to expect you to engage with me through the chat. So I'm going to have a few questions throughout this time. And if you can, just engage with me in the chat. Sounds good? Put a 7 in the chat if you're okay with that. All right, I see some 7s. Awesome. All right, so today we're going to be talking about journaling. Journaling has been an essential tool for me and my mental health for a few years now, over 4+ years. But I have an interesting story because I was not fascinated with journaling early on. I came to enjoy journaling because I started to see a lot of results. So throughout this session, I want to share with you a couple of things that I've learned through journaling, and hopefully you'll be able to pick up this practice as well. I'm also on Instagram, so I'd love to connect with you and network with you on Instagram and other social media platforms, so you can follow me at Abraham Sculley. So like I said, I got some questions. So I have this quote on the screen here. It says, leadership happens from the top down. Can anyone take a few seconds to think about that and share with me in the chat? What do you think I mean when I say leadership happens from the top down? Just drop it in the chat. You have to be an example as a leader. I love it. Thank you, Jess. Anyone else? Leadership happens from the top down. What do you think I mean by that? Everyone can be a leader no matter what. Thank you, Keandra. In a traditional hierarchy, utilizing a vision would do so, but I ascribe more to servant leadership. I love that, Michael. Really good. Really good responses. As you have them coming in, I want you to continue to put those in the chat. So I mentioned pretty much when I was getting started that mental health is essential when it comes to leading and being an effective leader. When I wrote this statement, leadership happens from the top down. Now, all of the responses that you gave are absolutely correct, 100%. But I want to focus specifically on the top being our head, our mental space, our mindset, and how if we are doing well mentally, it affects every other area of our lives, including leadership. Have you ever heard this quote? It says, hurt people hurt people. Put a 7 in the chat if you've ever heard that quote. Hurt people hurt people. Yep, it's a pretty well-known saying. So I want to actually start off with my own mental health story. So as was mentioned, I actually graduated from the University of West Florida. I'm not originally from Pensacola. I'm from Miami, Florida originally, but I moved here in 2014 because I was excited about being a college student and experiencing what it was to be a college student. I'm the first in my family to go off to college and graduate. So that was a lot of pressure, but it was a lot of excitement for me. So I graduated from high school in 2014 and I was extremely excited. Like I had the specific plan all laid out. I knew exactly what I was going to study. My major at the time was information technology. I knew exactly how long it was going to take me to graduate. I knew exactly what kind of job I was going to have once I graduated. And I knew exactly how much money I was going to make with that job. I had the plan all figured out, all laid out, right? The perfect plan. There's this quote by Mike Tyson that I love. He says, "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth." Yeah, Abigail's laughing at me. Yep. I was punched in the mouth during my freshman year as a college student. But it wasn't by a bully or someone that didn't like me or I didn't like. It was by life, depression. So let me backtrack and tell you a little bit about that experience for me as a college freshman. So when I moved to Pensacola, I didn't want to take the traditional route, as many of you may be familiar. So I didn't live on campus. I got my own apartment. I said, well, if I'm going to be independent, I'm going to go all the way. Got my own apartment. I got a job. And because I had my own apartment, it meant that I now had bills, my own bills. If I didn't work, I didn't eat. And I can't survive without eating. I love food, y'all. And so I was working about 35 hours a week, sometimes 40, as a college freshman. In addition to that, I was a full-time student taking 5 classes at UWF. Now, in the beginning, it wasn't much for me because I thought to myself, well, I've always seen my parents work. My parents are from Jamaica, if anyone is familiar with Caribbean background, but my parents are from Jamaica. They moved to the United States in pursuit of the American dream. And so I've seen what hard work looks like. And so I thought to myself, well, this is just what this looks like. As a college student, you got to work. You got to provide for yourself. You have to take care of your responsibilities. But what I didn't realize was that I was starting to become stressed. I was trying to balance everything. I had this full-time job, full course load of classes. I was trying to be involved in every student organization, trying to have this college experience that I had seen on TV. But it got overwhelming for me. And I didn't even recognize it. I had no idea. I thought, again, like I said, I thought that that is what the college experience was like. I did that consistently. So my days pretty much looked like waking up early in the morning, going to work, leaving work, taking the trolley, going to class, leaving class, going back to work, leaving work, going back to class, and then taking the trolley to my apartment. So there was a lot of pressure there. I remember we got close to the end of the semester and it was a time where we were, being given our grades for the semester to let us know where we were. And I saw I had 2 D's, 2 C's, and I think I had a B. And I was crushed. I started thinking to myself, did I literally move all the way to Pensacola, Florida to work and fail? Like I could have got a job back home. I could have done the same thing that I'm doing back home. And yet I'm here in Pensacola all by myself. And that's when those negative thoughts really started for me. I started to question my own ability to be a successful college student. I started to apply additional pressure on myself, saying that I don't deserve to be a college student. I don't deserve to be here. I'll never be successful. Nobody in my family has gone and graduated from college. What makes me think I'm special? And these negative thoughts just started to invite their aunties, their uncles, their cousins, their brothers, and it just wouldn't stop. Next thing I knew, I'm now locked up in my room in my apartment with the blinds closed. It's broad daylight outside, and I'm battling these negative thoughts. Those thoughts turned into specific feelings, and I started to feel helpless and hopeless. Started to feel worthless and ashamed. And those feelings turned into specific behaviors and actions. I started to isolate. Wasn't hanging out with friends anymore, wasn't going to events. I would email my professors and say, hey, I can't come to class today. I'm sorry, I'm sick. Would send a message to my boss saying, I can't come to work today, I'm sick. And I was struggling, suffering, and suffering in silence. It wasn't until I had a really good friend of mine at the time, still a really good friend till this day. And I smile when I tell this story because it changed my life. It was one weekend, I was home in my apartment like I always was because that was my comfort zone. And she called me. And at this point, she had been calling me for, the past few weeks, but I was ignoring her calls and ignoring her text messages because I just wasn't feeling like myself. And I didn't want her to see me or hear me like that. Decided to pick up the phone and I put on this upbeat tone, like, acting as if everything was okay. I said, yo, what's good? She said, yo, Abe, you good? I said, of course I'm good. What do you mean, am I good? I'm always good. She said, are you sure? Because I haven't been seeing you on campus. I haven't been, getting a response from you through text. Haven't been seeing that smiling face that I saw when you just got here. You sure you good? Now at this point, you all, I'm starting to feel a little defensive because I feel like she's attacking my character. Like ever since I was born, I've always known myself to be this excited, motivated, happy guy, optimistic guy. And now she's questioning this, or at least that's what I'm feeling. And so I respond to her, are you good? I'm good. I know I'm good. And then she goes silent. It was probably the most awkward pause I had ever heard in my life. Like I literally looked at my phone. I was like, yo, she's still on the phone. What do I do? And then she says, I'm not getting off of the phone until you tell me what's really going on. My friend saw that I was struggling, saw that I was putting up this facade, saw that I was faking it and acting like everything was good. And she said, I'm not getting off of the phone until you tell me what's really going on. Now, I'll be completely honest with you. That was uncomfortable. I did not expect that to come because in my mind, I was putting up this perfect image of what a happy person looked like. And she was seeing through all of it. And she called it out. And that conversation changed my life. She asked me what was up. And in that moment, I told her everything. How I wasn't sleeping at night because I had these negative racing thoughts. I told her how I wasn't eating because I just didn't have an appetite and I didn't know why. Told her how I wasn't motivated anymore. I didn't want to be in school. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to hang out with anyone. She said, "It sounds like you're depressed." It's like, nah, depressed? Nah, there's no way I can be depressed. Like, I'm an optimistic guy. Don't you see this smile on my face? I lift weights. I'm tall, dark, and handsome. People like me, we don't get depressed. She said, "No, everything that you just described, it sounds like depression. And as a matter of fact, if you're depressed, like, that's okay. You can go to the counseling center on campus and you can get help." I was like, nah. As a man, I'm like, nah, I don't need no help. I got this. Long story short, I did need the help. And after that conversation, I started to struggle severely, suffering in silence, trying to figure it out, trying different things to help myself, and nothing was working. And then I finally mustered the courage to seek some help. I ended up going to the counseling center, sat down with a psychiatrist, sat down with a therapist, and that started my journey to, treatment and recovery from depression. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder, also known as clinical depression. I was prescribed medication for depression, which I was on for a long time. And I was in therapy for a long time. And if anyone on this call knows anything about mental illness or any type of mental health challenge, you know that it is a process. It is a journey. It is not a sprint. It's a marathon. And one of the things that helped me to work through what I was going through to get on the other side of depression was actually three things. The first was God. I had to grow deeper in my relationship with my Creator, with my higher power. The second was therapy. I needed not only to go to therapy, but actually listen to what my therapist was telling me to do. Because that's the hard part. You can go to therapy and, you can seek the help. But if you're not listening to what they're telling you to do, it's not really going to work. And then the third thing was to commit to the work. Commit to the work. And a part of that work for me in the very beginning, which still I'm committed to till this day, is journaling. And journaling has changed the way I perceive life. It's changed the way I approach business, relationships. It's changed the way that I prioritize my day. And it's been essential to my wellness and overall well-being. So what I want to do for you guys today, and I hope you got something to write with, because I'm going to kind of go through this with you, and you could definitely take some notes here. So I want to start by talking about some of the benefits to gratitude journaling. Some of the benefits to gratitude journaling. So I'll start by sharing this. When I was first introduced to journaling by my therapist, I was opposed to journaling because I didn't think like I could journal. Like, just growing up and the way I saw journaling and diaries and things like that, I thought to myself, like, people like me, we don't do that. So I had a really hard time committing to the process. But my therapist, again, she told me to do it, and I had to do it, if I wanted to commit to the work that was necessary for my mental health. So I want to share a few benefits of gratitude journaling. The first is that it helps to establish healthy habits. Because I started this practice of journaling, I've been able to develop a ton of different healthy habits, like exercise, like eating healthy, like working out, or drinking water, prioritizing certain relationships because of one habit that I've developed. Another benefit is that it increases our ability to bounce back from adversity, our resilience muscle. And then the last one that I want to share is that it helps with our clarity and focus on what is really important in our lives. So what is it? What is gratitude journaling? So it's the practice of reflecting and writing down the things that you are grateful for on a regular basis. Gratitude journaling rewires your brain to look for and focus on the positive aspects of your life. Now, I want to take a quick second just to ask this other question. Is there anyone on this Zoom call now who has ever started journaling, or maybe you have a habit of journaling already? I'd like to hear from you. Just say yes in the chat if you've tried it before or if you currently journal. Sort of. Yes. Anyone else? Ever tried it before? On and off? Love it. Tried it. Awesome. Okay, so by the time I finish this presentation, I want to be able to, I like to use the word convince, but I really want to help you to understand that this is not only a practice that will help your mental health, but it helps you in all aspects of your life, your physical health, your spiritual health, emotional health. And that's why I've been doing it, since 2015 up until this point, is because I continue to see these benefits that are helpful for me in my life. All right, so here are some of the steps when it comes to developing the practice. One of the biggest challenges, and I saw one of you put it in the chat, one of the biggest challenges to journaling and developing a habit of journaling is that it's challenging to be consistent, right? A lot of people who start journaling or start any new habit, the reason why we start and we stop and we started and we fall off is because it's hard to be consistent. So these steps that I'm going to share with you today is going to help with the structure and the framework to be able to be consistent. So I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. And if you want to take screenshots or write it down, definitely do so. The first step is to pick a time. So for me, gratitude journaling is a part of what I call mental training, my mental training routine. And there are a checklist of things that I follow for my own mental training. And so because I do it in the morning, the best time for me is in the morning. But when it comes to your journaling practice, it can be any time that works for you. I know a lot of people who journal right before bed. Some people who journal as soon as they wake up. Some people take breaks throughout their day and they sit down and journal. But whatever works for you, that's the time that you'll pick, because the goal is to make it as easy as possible to actually start. Step number 2 is to pick 2 to 3 days where you can journal consistently. Now, if you're anything like me, I consider myself to be sort of like this overachiever, perfectionist, and it's a gift and a curse. And so when I feel like someone is giving me an opportunity or challenge, I tend to want to go all out, right? So if someone says, hey, you want to start exercising, you want to build muscle, I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to do every single day, right? And then I end up not doing it at all or not being consistent. So one tip to developing the consistency is to start small. You want to start small and build momentum. So when I say start small, that's either 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, but I don't want you to go anything over 3 days, especially when it's a new habit that you're trying to build and form. The goal here is to make it easy so that we can continue to do it. Step number 3 is to schedule it, right? If it's not in the calendar, then it's not going to happen. We must become intentional when it comes to gratitude journaling. So what this looks like for me is in my phone, I personally like Google Calendar. So in my phone, it'll say at this specific time, that's my time for my mental training routine. And a part of that routine is journaling. That way I can see it, it pops up, and it reminds me that, hey, this is time for journaling. Step number 4 is to pick a journal. Now, I'm very picky when it comes to my journals. So I tried using a composition notebook. I tried using a spiral notebook, but it's just something about when you make the investment in a journal and it looks good, it feels good, and it smells good. As you can tell, I love journaling. It's a passion of mine. But you want to pick a journal that you can be proud of. Like when you look at that journal, you're like, oh man, I can't wait to open you up. All right. So that's step number 4, pick a journal. Step number 5, you want to pick a space. Now, this specific space is going to be used only for journaling. So what that means is try as much as you're able to not to do it in certain spaces where you already do certain things, because the goal here is to train your mind to associate your new space with this new habit of journaling. So for me, I have a spot in my small apartment where it's like, this is just my journaling space. I don't journal in my bed. I don't journal in the living room. I don't journal in other places where I do other things. Now, I know where that can be challenging for some people depending on the space that you're in, but just think about being intentional with that space. So if you pick whatever space you decide to journal in, pick that space for the days that you decide to journal. That part is really important. Step number 6 is to pick the time that you want to journal. Oh, I'm sorry. Step number 6 is actually journaling. So this is when you sit down and you say, okay, what am I grateful for? And I like to start each statement with, I am grateful for ... whatever that thing is. And then I also like to write, why am I grateful for it? So for example, I'll say something like, I'm grateful for the breath in my body, because without the breath in my body, I won't be able to survive. I wouldn't be able to speak with you all today. I wouldn't be alive, right? And I think a lot of times what happens is we're such on like go mode, or we have so many things going on that we tend to forget those quote unquote little things that we can be grateful for. And when we create the time to actually write it down, it helps to stamp it in our minds and appreciate life. Is this making sense so far? Put a 7 in the chat if this is making sense for you. Put a 7, 1 7, 1 7. Awesome, awesome. Got some 7s in the chat. All right, last step, step number 7. Sit still and be mindful. Now, this is where you give yourself permission to sit quietly and soak it all in. One thing that I like about journaling is that when I commit this time to journaling, it shows me that I love me enough to do what I need to make sure that I'm doing well. It shows me that I can give to myself. A challenge that many people have, not just me, many people have, don't let me be by myself on this one, is that it's really easy to give love to other people, to other things. But very few people are willing to receive love. Receive love from ourselves, receive love from other people. And when you commit to a practice like gratitude journaling, even if you're not conscious of it, subconsciously what you're telling yourself is, I love me enough to commit to this. All right, so that's step number 7. So what I want to do is I want to practice really quickly. So if you have a sheet of paper or a notebook or a journal with you, I want you to pull it out, or you can just use the chat feature. And what I'll do is I'll give you 60 seconds to create your own gratitude statement. So again, how I like to start them off is, I am grateful for ... and you can add why you're grateful for it. And what I'll do now is I'll just give you 60 seconds. I'll start my timer. And then if you are willing, you can share it in the chat. Ready? and go. We got about 30 seconds left. If you'd like to put your statement in the chat, I'd love to see what you wrote down, what you're grateful for. 15 seconds. Three, two, one, and done. If you're still writing, definitely continue to write. Drop those in the chat. I see a couple. I'm grateful for my husband. Yeah. I'm grateful for my life, my children. I'm grateful to be employed. Yeah, that's a big one. And healthy. I'm grateful for supportive family, friends, work colleagues, teachers, professors I've had over the years. Hey, Katie. All right. I love it. All right. So we're almost done. I want to go through some of the pros and some of the cons when it comes to journaling. And you can take a look at this. You can even take a screenshot. I'm only going to go over a couple of these. But some of the pros when it comes to journaling, it helps you to grow personally. As an individual, I've seen how over the years, because I commit to this practice, I've grown in my mindset and my ability to empathize with others and my ability to bounce back from different challenges. Another pro is that it helps you to habit stack. So I mentioned earlier, when you develop one habit, it's easy to develop a new habit because of the development of that old habit. So those are some pros. Now, when it comes to the cons for journaling, I'm still looking. Haven't found one yet. Now, here's some tips when it comes to being consistent. Number one, do it with a supportive friend, an accountability partner, someone who is also going to do it with you. It's easier to stay consistent when you're not the only one. Number two, get clear on why you want to start this practice, even before you start. That part is super important because when you have a really big why, it's going to remind you to keep pushing when it gets hard to stay consistent. Number three, very simple. Just make the decision. Deciding that I am going to journal. I'm going to commit to this. And then the last point is to do one thing at a time. So you don't want to try developing 5 new habits all at one time, or 3 or 2. Stick with doing one and then getting really good at that one and then branching out. A couple additional tips for journaling. Take as much time as you need. Don't rush the process. Trust the process. And then, like I mentioned earlier, you want to have a special journal that you only use for your gratitude journaling. And for me, I like to have a special pen as well. I'm just extra like that. But these are just some additional tips to help with the process. And then last but not least, I would love to connect with you all and network. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm on all social media platforms. And also you can find more information about what I do and different projects that I'm a part of at my website, abrahamsculley.com. And I do have a survey, so a post-event survey, just to hear your feedback and what you were able to get out of this presentation. If you can go to that link, I'd love to receive some of your feedback. Again, thank you all for having me here for your virtual leadership summit. I really appreciated your engagement in the chat, and I hope that this was valuable for you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Abraham. We are just so excited that you were able to come and help us kind of open that that ability to journal. I loved all of your tips, especially the get your pen and then get a journal that you're proud of. I feel
Yeah.
like that would really motivate me as well. So I love that. Keandra just put his event survey in the chat, so go ahead and click that link if you'd like to give him your feedback and network with him. Now it is 12 p.m., so this is officially the end of our leadership summit. Again, thank you so much for coming, you guys. I cannot tell you how exciting this whole process has been. And seeing you guys here has just been very nice because it's been a weird year where we have not seen each other face to face, and we haven't had very many events like normal. So it's been an amazing time just to have some communication with you guys today, learn and grow together. And I thank you